This video will be about the similarities between pagan gods and Catholic saints. I'm just now noticing this after having my attention drawn to a couple of different saints in the comments on my videos. I'll be using those saints as examples to show the parallels between pagan gods and saints. I appreciate my commenters and the information you share, because we're fighting together and praying for each other, and that is a fine, amazing testament to our Savior, Jesus Christ. Many saints of the early Christian period have parallels to pagan gods. For example, their roles. And here are some Catholic saints which can't help but to compare to the types of roles held by the pantheon of gods. Patron saint of gardeners, bell makers, teenagers, youth, beekeepers, candle makers, weavers, widows. See what I mean? Their attributes, such as having supernatural powers, being venerated as deities in a realm between heaven and earth, life and death, and supposedly gods or the gods, representatives on earth. Even some of their stories of the saints and pagan gods are similar. The Catholic Church canonized saints for many occupations. Each with their own feast day. Ancient pagan rituals were carried into Christian culture, which Jesus had a problem with, and I covered that in my video Nicolaitans, postulating that the Nicolaitan Church founder was actually Saint Nicholas, otherwise known as Santa Claus, otherwise known as the jolly old elf. One of my commenters said, "Some saints are very dodgy. Take Saint Lucia, for instance. She wore a wreath of candles on her head so she could have both hands free to carry down food to the Christians hiding in the catacombs of Rome. She's still celebrated on December 13th. Little girls dress up like her and take breakfast to family members on that day. Consider how similar she is to the Statue of Liberty, a Lucifer or light bearer. Long, loose robe with a crown or a wreath that emits light. Not so subtle, that saint." And I'm certain in some ways that St. Lucia is similar to St. Bridget in Ireland. Bridget was a member of the Tuatha De Danann, but was turned into a Catholic saint. End of comment. And I'm sure that commenter is 100% correct about Bridget, but for this video I'm going to focus on St. Lucia, referred to commonly as St. Lucy. St. Lucia, or St. Lucy, sounds very similar to the description of Berchta, a goddess of Germanic pagan tradition, who symbolized brightness and protection, who also wore a wreath of candles, also known as the Bright One or the Bearer. That's what her name means. And it's related to Berchtentang, or the Feast of the Epiphanies, which is a supposed Christian feast day commemorating the visit of the Magi, the baptism of Jesus, or the wedding at Cana. Looks like a Catholic saint to me. Berchta was revered as the Lady in White, a guardian of women, children, and nature, a goddess of hearth and home. Berchta is also sometimes referred to as Perchta and has pagan roots, but evolved into a Christmas figure connected with the holiday season. Sometimes a benevolent spirit, other times a harbinger of doom. She has a dual nature like Lucifer. She appeared on the 12 days of Christmas and oversees spinning or weaving and is skilled in medicine, both common to a witch. But she looks like those female elves from The Lord of the Rings, doesn't she? Some mythologists attribute the origin of the name Perchta to the Old High German verb pergen, meaning hidden or covered. Veiled, perhaps, like the veil of Isis or the goddess Cybele. Those are other mother goddesses that I have covered before. Berchta flew down a chimney on a broomstick, and if the children were behaving, she gave them a gift. If not, she would take their intestines out. Sometimes she appeared as a white-robed goddess, the feminine equivalent of Berchtold. So she was a feminine equivalent of a male that's important. She was sometimes the leader of the wild hunt, like Diana. She could shapeshift into animal form. And here is a depiction of her with goats like the ones that drew the chariot of Thor. She was associated with birch trees, watched over forests and wildlife, and was considered a spirit guide who led souls into the afterlife. She had a unique place as a deity between spaces, such as the boundary between safety and danger, life and death. Sounds kind of like a saint. She's also associated with Charlemagne's mother, Bertrada of Leon, who took influence from this goddess. And Bertrada of Leon, Charlemagne's mother, was known for being very tall and having a very wide foot. Maybe because she had 6 toes, who knows? But Charlemagne inherited his unusually tall height from her, and some historians credit her political skills for his success. She lived at his court and influenced his choice of wives as well, which sounds a lot like Olympias and Alexander the Great's relationship. Remember that Charlemagne married the elven princess Fastrada. Another elf I'm going to cover, St. Nicholas, the jolly old elf, like the Lord of the Rings elves. Now we're going to look at St. Lucia or St. Lucy and the parallels to this pagan goddess. The commenter said, she wore a wreath of candles on her head, and she's celebrated on December 13th, so that's the Christmas season, and is similar to the light bearer, wearing a long, loose robe with a crown or wreath that emits light. So that commenter sent me a music video, which is a ritual to St. Lucia, and I'm going to play that now. Dang, if that doesn't represent an angel of light. From that video, we notice the sound of wolves, the moon, also often depicted with the mother goddess figure, the candles, which are associated with witchcraft, brooding shadows, dreams of wings rustling over us in prophecy, spells and dark powers with light you subject, guard of blessed flames, protection for us brings, stars lead us the way to find, become your clear flames, fair priestess. So Saint Lucia, better known as Saint Lucy, like Lucifer, the light bearer. See my video titled Lucifer for more connections to this mother goddess figure, but a quick review. Hillel ben Shahar was translated to Lucifer in the Vulgate and early Christian or early English translations of the Bible by the Catholic Church. Lucifer is Latin for morning star, the light bearer, the mother goddess, a specific Nephilim or Raphaim offspring that is characterized by female traits, a fallen angel in drag, androgynous, dualistic. It makes sense that the Roman Pope at the time would insert Lucifer as a representation of Venus because Venus was central to many Roman religious festivals. In other words, the Roman Pope at the time, who was in cahoots with the emperors, inserted their female goddess, represented as Lucifer, into the Bible in place of the male Hillel ben Shahar, which is why you see the Catholics chanting prayers to Lucifer. Saint Lucy, like many of the other saints, may not have been a real person, but rather a representation of a pagan god. Saint Lucy's supposed life was documented around 283 to 304 AD, about the same time as Saint Nicholas, who is going to be my other example comparing him to pagan god attributes to saints. Lucy is honored in the Catholic Church, in the Church of England, in the Episcopal Church, and in the Lutheran Church on December 13th, St. Lucy's Day. There's a feast associated which coincides with the winter solstice. She's one of 8 women, including the Virgin Mary, explicitly commemorated by Catholics in the canon of the Mass. And she's one of the best-known virgin martyrs. According to the traditional story, Lucy was born into rich and noble parents. Her father was of Roman origin, and her mother was Greek, who arranged Lucy's marriage to a young man from a wealthy pagan family. Lucy's Latin name, Lucia, means light, bearer of light, in the darkness of winter. In Scandinavian countries, celebration of St. Lucy's Day includes the tradition of a young girl dressed in a white dress, a red sash, who wears a crown or a wreath of candles on her head, just like Berchta. Now I'll do St. Nicholas as an example, another example of a Catholic saint compared to a pagan god. I already covered him in detail in my videos titled Jolly Old Elf and Nicolaitans, but he was a bishop or deacon from Turkey, essentially Odin in a bishop's robe, I had previously said. But see, here is his statue with the twigs and all, like a druid, and even a druid staff. St. Nicholas was supposedly alive around the same time as St. Lucy. His lifetime was recorded as 270 AD to 343 AD, if he was even a real person. He's also associated with Christmas, and he was also born in the Roman Empire to a wealthy Greek family, just like St. Lucy. His name Nicholas means conqueror of the lay people. St. Nicholas is the patron saint of sailors, merchants, archers, repentant thieves, children, brewers, pawnbrokers, toy makers, unmarried people, and students in various cities and countries around Europe, which sounds like a god. And which god is associated with St. Nicholas? Odin, the Norse god, the pagan god most associated with Santa Claus and St. Nicholas. Odin was a major figure in Norse paganism. He led a hunting party called the Wild Hunt across the sky during the winter solstice. Odin was often depicted with a white beard, blue-hooded, cloaked figure who rode a horse named Sleipnir. Many of Santa's characteristics, including his long white beard and his reindeer, are thought to have come from Odin. The tales of Odin may have influenced the tradition of children leaving shoes out for St. Nicholas to fill with gifts. And wouldn't that make sense that the Romans and Greeks carried forward their pagan worship in a supposed Christian saint, who, at least in these two examples that I just gave, came from wealthy merchant classes? Another commenter said, as a child in the UK, the devil was often referred to as Old Nick. Thanks for listening.